Now, I'm still single. I am in my early 30s. I'm still single. It kind of sucks. But, I'm at a point now where I don't really have sex dreams anymore. I kind of just have love dreams. I had a dream where I was holding hands with the love of my life. And we were walking through this beautiful, lush, like clear open field. There was a blue sky, sunny day. And in the middle of the field, there was this old wooden table. And the table was covered in desserts like cakes and pastries and ice cream. And we get to the table, me and the girl, we sit close beside each other. And the girl, she leans over and she whispers into my ear, "I'm glad we met." And that was the whole dream. Woke up, I just felt hungry and alone. I am lactose tolerant. It's one of my many talents. Being lactose tolerant, it's like a superpower nowadays in 2026. I walk into a cafe, the barista goes, "What do you want?" I say, "I want a strong flat white." It's my coffee order. Hey. The barista goes, "What milk do you want? Do you want almond, soy, oat milk, macadamia?" I say, "I want full cream milk." A hush falls over the cafe. Everyone turns to me and they say, "This guy, he's ordering full cream milk in 2026. What's his secret?" My secret is I eat a lot of antibiotics, so I am clean. That's a true story. I hate it when cafes became too friendly. Like I was in Melbourne and my Airbnb was next to this nice hipster cafe. So I went there every day. I went there every day, right? And after 3 days, the lines became blurred. They became friendly. They remembered my name. They knew my coffee order. They started talking to me more. I hate it when that happens, right? I want my coffee transaction to be as transactional as possible, the way God intended. I wanted to be honest. Like I was doing Melbourne Comedy Festival. The barista was like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "I drank 3 bottles of red wine last night by myself. I can't make small talk right now." I went there 3 days in a row, and after the 3rd day, the lady barista, she gave me a free Danish, and I did not go back to that cafe for a week. It was too intimate. Freaked me out. All right, some easy jokes to start the show. I like starting the show easy. I like to do a content warning straight up. There's some jokes about like drug addiction and suicide. It's fine. You got to understand that I am standing here doing the show, so all of that worked out in the end. It's okay. I was off all my social media for about 5 years. I had 5 years no social media, and it was great. It was really invigorating. I would highly recommend the lifestyle. But then touring like an independent comedy show around the country, I had to get on Instagram to do a bit of promotion and things like that. So I downloaded Insta. I used it every day for about a month, and after using Instagram every day for a month, I felt this pain in my side. So I went to see the GP, I did a blood test, and it turns out I had liver toxicity. Now, I'm not saying that using Instagram every day for a month gave me toxic liver, but what I am saying is that I once drank red wine every day for a month. Because, I'm kind of nuts, so I got it in my head that if I drank red wine every day, it would cleanse my body of microplastics. So I drank red wine every day for a month, and my liver was fine. Right? I used Instagram every day for a month. I had a toxic liver. I drank red wine every day for a month. And the only bad thing that happened to my health was that sometimes after a month, when I closed my eyes, I would see cockroaches. But that's about it. And I do think that's a small price to pay to be plastic free. And I think we should be more crazy. I think especially as artists, we have kind of an obligation to be a bit nuts. And I think now in like the social media age, we're too visible and people have become a bit frightened to be strung out, which is a shame because when I was a kid in the 90s, all my heroes were drug addicts, all of them, Kurt Cobain, my dad, everyone. And they did the coolest shit. And I think when you're strung out is when, mad stuff happens to you. Like, I'll be honest, like I lived in Newtown and I lived just behind King Street. And in Newtown, there's a very famous chicken shop. It's called Clem's Chicken. It's like a local joint and all the locals, we try to support it. So whenever I wanted a good cheap dinner, I would go to Clem's and I would always order the same thing. I would order a fried chicken wrap. It's a classic. But one night I was kind of out of it. Like I'd smoked too much weed or whatever. I drank too much. Hadn't slept in about a week. And I stumbled into Clem's. And the lady came up to the counter and she said, "What would you like?" And I said, "I want a fried chicken wrap." And the lady said, "You want 5 chicken wraps?" And I said, "Yeah, I want a fried chicken wrap." And the lady looked at me and she said, "Are you sure you want 5 chicken wraps?" And I said, "Yeah, I want a fried chicken wrap." And the lady said, "Sure." So I went to the back of the store, I sat down, and I waited. About 5 minutes went by, 10 minutes went by. I was thinking, how long does it take to make a fried chicken wrap? 15 minutes went by. The lady comes back to the counter. She said, your 5 chicken wraps are ready. I thought, thank God, my fried chicken wrap is ready. I went to the counter and I saw sitting there 5 chicken wraps. Suddenly realized a horrible mistake had been made. Now, the situation, it was awkward because I only had about $60 left in my bank account. That had to last the rest of the week. This was a Wednesday night, so I had to decide right then whether to say, actually, what I wanted was a fried chicken wrap, not 5 chicken wraps, and create an awkward situation for all of us. Or I could spend the rest of my money and eat nothing but chicken wraps for the rest of the week, which is exactly what I did. So I took my chicken wraps home, and I ate the first one. It was great. Clem's chicken wraps are classic. You should go there, you should try one. Thursday night, I ate my second chicken wrap. Friday night, I ate my third chicken wrap. Then Saturday night, I ate my 4th chicken wrap. Didn't think it was starting to get questionable. Sunday night, I was down to my 5th and final chicken wrap. I took it out of the fridge. The bread was stale. The salad had wilted. The wrapper it was somehow both soggy and dry at the same time. But I was totally broke. This was the only food I had left. I had to eat it. So I did what any reasonable human being would do in that situation. And I put it in the air fryer, 180 degrees, 10 minutes to see what comes out. 10 minutes later, the air fryer dings. I take it out. And then I was standing alone in the kitchen of my rundown house in Newtown, eating a reheated 5-day-old Clem's chicken wrap. And it was pretty good, I'll be honest. I think I made the right call. I think we should be more strung out. Look, I'll be honest. I was once high on pills. I was strung out of my mind. It was about 6:30 in the morning. And I threw an almond croissant at a barista. He was very upset. But in my defense, he was a white supremacist. What happened is that it was about 6:30 in the morning. And I was high out of my mind. And I just wanted a coffee. So I found a cafe in the city that just opened. I walked in, it was empty. There was no one there except for this white boy barista behind the counter. And it was kind of awkward. It was like a vibe. And he looked me up and down, but he didn't say anything. So I go to the counter and I said, I want strong flat white and an almond croissant. He goes to make the coffee. He takes the almond croissant out of the fridge and he puts it in the toaster, which was a double-edged sword. Because the almond croissant was hot, it meant that later on when I went to throw it at him, it made for a better weapon. But it also meant that I was more upset that I didn't get to eat it. So you can't win in life. He makes the almond croissant, he makes the coffee, he hands them to me. Now at the back of the cafe, I see a garden area and I really want to sit there and drink my coffee and decompress. Now I go to the window, I'm staring at the garden, I'm holding my coffee, I'm holding my almond croissant, and I'm expecting like a door, just a regular door with a handle that you open to go outside. But I can't find the handle. I'm standing there, I'm looking outside, I'm longing for this garden for like 2 or 3 minutes, which is way too long to not help someone. Finally, the white boy barista, he turns to me and he says, yo, Habibi, the door's over there. And then I'm like, all right, a racist thing has just happened. And look, now when something racist happens, I don't feel the rage straight away. What I feel now is exhaustion because life is hard enough, right? Life is hard enough without white boys calling you Habibi. So I was like, all right, this racist thing has just happened. And then I was upset that I had to deal with a thing more than I was upset at the fact of the racism itself. So then the rage hit and I turned around and I pegged the almond croissant at him and it hit him square in the forehead and a puff of white icing sugar exploded in his brain like a gunshot. And to this day I have no regrets. It was one of the best things I ever did. But I would never have had the courage to throw that almond croissant if I was not a hardcore drug addict. So you're welcome. Yeah. I also think it's good because I think my experience as an adult is that it's hard to make new friends. You go out in the world and you have established social groups, and it's hard if you do something different in life to make new friends. And I did try recently. I worked on a short film with this guy. I thought he was interesting. So after we wrapped, I sent him a text asking if he wanted to socialize, and he said that he would. So we decided to watch this play together. The night of the play comes and he arrives with a date, which I thought was kind of awkward because I thought we were going to sort of hang out and become mates. Instead, now I'm kind of third wheeling this date. And we watch this play, the play ends, it was okay. We go outside, we do catch up a little bit. And he invites me to go to this Bollywood rave that him and his date are going to go hang out in. But I'm still feeling a bit awkward, like I don't really want to go to the club with this guy and his date who I've never met before. So I'm feeling a bit awkward, I just go home. All right, about a week goes by and I think I'll try again. He's a cool guy. So I send him a text asking if he wants to go and have lunch. And he says that he would, but that he's in Bali. And then I think, well, fuck this guy, because there's clearly a misalignment going on. Because in my head, I kept going, who's this king who takes hot dates to Bollywood raves and hangs out in Bali? I spend most of my days wandering around in a 3-day-old t-shirt, staring at the sun and asking it for forgiveness. And I think that disconnect in our lifestyles is the key reason why we didn't end up becoming better friends. But I also think we might not be friends because of that time I called him a pussy for having sleep apnea. He was like, I can't sleep on my back. I said, you little bitch. I do have an anxiety disorder that kind of makes it difficult to maintain friendships. And one of the things that I hate is that I don't like being given vague instructions. And one afternoon I was helping my sister babysit her kids. And my sister said, can you run to the shops and buy some lemons? And then she took her kids to the park. And I was left standing alone in the kitchen trying to figure out how many lemons constitute some. So I was freaking out. I was stressed out. You know, I was walking through the suburb towards Coles trying to figure out how many lemons to buy so that these kids could have a fulfilled childhood when I passed my ex. And you know, I was too stressed out. So in that moment, I just blanked her. It's not nice, but I just blanked her. I didn't acknowledge her, and I kept on walking. But I noticed that my ex was smiling, which really freaked me out because my ex was smiling, A, because she saw me, which made me upset and self-conscious, or B, because she was happy, which made me even more upset because no one wants their ex to be happy. So I get to Coles, my head is all fucked up because I'm thinking, how many lemons constitute some? But also, why is my ex so happy? And I've never been to this Coles before, so I don't know where the lemons are. And now my anxiety brain is going, everyone here can tell that you don't know where anything is. So I'm walking around Coles, I'm sweating, I'm nervous, I'm anxious. I don't know where the lemons are. I don't know how many lemons to buy. I don't know why my ex is so happy, but I'm trying to project confidence. Finally, I find the produce section at the back of the store and I get the lemons. And in the end, capitalism made the decision for me because lemons were 2 for $3 or 5 for $6. And I thought that's a pretty good deal. So I bought 5 lemons and I left. I went back to my sister's house. I placed 5 lemons on the dinner table. My sister said, why'd you buy 5 lemons? I only needed like 2. I said, you have no idea what I've been through. I matched with Sarah on Hinge, and Sarah was really cool. She was funny, she was smart, and I really wanted to connect with her. And one of her Hinge prompts was, my New Year's resolution is to get rid of all of my non-stick pans. So when we matched, I hit her up and I asked, what's your beef with non-stick pans? And for a while we texted about pans and cooking and searing meat on high heat, classic flirting. And then the match fizzled out, which does happen. But I was kind of upset because I did like Sarah. The problem is, because everything we do on technology now is monitored, the next day I opened up YouTube and the first video that came up was a documentary about non-stick pans. So I watched it and it was a great documentary. It went into the science behind the non-stick chemicals, how it's polluting the environment and getting into our bloodstream. So after watching this docu, I became super fired up and I wanted to talk to Sarah again about this interest that we now had in common. So I did send her another text, but she never got back to me. And then I kept getting more and more hurt and upset and lonely because I liked Sarah. She was cool, she was funny, she was kind of sarcastic, which I liked. So I was upset that we weren't going to go on any dates, but I was also getting upset that now I had no one to talk to about non-stick pans. And I kept getting more hurt and upset and lonely and agitated to the point where it became hard for me to cook dinner every night. Because every night I would go to cook and I would stare at my non-stick pans and all I would think about were the chemicals in my blood and the love that could have been. I don't know what I'm going to do with my spare mattress. Like, it's been in storage for about 6 months now, and every month I'm paying $199 for this storage box. And there's nothing in there except like an old mattress, some old paintings, some old vinyl records, and like a badly assembled cube storage sort of thing from IKEA. You know what I mean? We've all bought one. And I don't need any of this shit. And to me, the dumbest thing about being under late stage capitalism is that the need to get rid of this shit is almost as strong as was the desire to have this shit to begin with. And it's a never-ending cycle that I don't know how to get out of. I'm constantly buying stuff and getting rid of stuff. I don't know when it ends. I'll give you an example. The only time in my life that I'm happy with my iPad is when I have an iPad that I'm in the process of getting rid of. Any other time, whenever I don't have an iPad, I'm in my house going, I could really use an iPad. As soon as I buy an iPad, within 6 months, I'm in my house going, I don't need this fucking iPad. And it's a vicious cycle that will only end when I get stabbed by someone on Facebook Marketplace. You know? I'm telling you, the Facebook Marketplace stabbings are coming. I've been reading these messages. The energy is not good. Anyway, I've tried to kill myself before. Let's get rid of it. What happened is I OD'd on pills, on Valium. But I was tripping on LSD at the time, and if you want to know what it feels like to overdose on Valium while high on LSD, it kind of feels like falling off the Rainbow Road in Mario Kart. The next time I tried properly is that I was on suicide forums on the deep web. And if you spend enough time on suicide forums on the deep web, you keep hearing about the same figure, this guy called Johnson Johnson. Everyone's like, you got to get in touch with Johnson Johnson. Johnson Johnson will hook you up. So finally, I get in touch with Johnson Johnson. I get his email. I send him an email. 2 weeks later, my suicide kit arrived. Obviously, it didn't work. 10 months go by. 10 months later, I get an email from Johnson Johnson. I'm a curious guy, so I opened it. The email went, "Dear customer," which is a soft opening for a guy selling suicide kits. "Dear customer, sodium barbiturate back in stock." Back in stock, like this guy's selling iPads at JB Hi-Fi. Back in stock. If you want some. Now I don't think this guy fully understands the nature of the product he's selling. If you want, I was like, bro, if your shit worked, I'm not replying to this email. But there's nothing to do, you know. I just have nothing to do. Anyone here feel this way, that there's like nothing, there's nothing going on? Because I know that there's like, intellectually, I know that there's, you know, of course, war. I don't want to bring up negativity, but like war in the Middle East, war in Ukraine, energy crisis, fuel crisis, housing crisis, cost of living crisis, AI is drinking all of our water, and but I'm still just sitting alone in my bedroom, like, do I have chicken or beef noodles for lunch? And I know as a free and conscious individual, I should be doing more to help save planet Earth. Like I do understand that. I should be out there planting trees and taking, you know, plastic out of the ocean. I know I should be doing more to help save our future. And even though I understand that, every night I go home and I try and save Hyrule instead. I think there's like a mass dissociation going on, and I'm not sure how to like snap out of it. Does anyone here remember old TVs, like old cathode ray TVs? My favorite thing to do as a kid was to touch the fuzzy electronic static that would come off the screen of old TVs. But the best thing about old TVs is that when you click them to no channel, you get that cool TV static that you could watch. And I think we're missing something, and we should go back to these old sort of feeling things, because according to astrophysics, 1% of TV static is technically cosmic background radiation that's being picked up from the beginning of the universe. How cool is that? Like, I think we're missing something in terms of our emotional and cultural development. When I was a kid, styrofoam cups were the greatest because you could bite into them and leave little indentations of your teeth on the side of the cup. And whenever you poured a fizzy drink into a styrofoam cup, the fizz would always bounce around more and amplify. If you're 5 years old and you have lemonade in a styrofoam cup, you're in heaven. Now styrofoam cups are illegal, and we're all kind of dead inside. Like, I think there is we are missing something, because when I was a kid, I used to touch fuzzy electronic static while watching cosmic background radiation from the beginning of the universe. Now my closest friend is a watch that tells me when to exercise. I'm still not exercising. I don't know why, but these things have been in me from like childhood. Like ever since I was a kid, I've always been drawn to music made by suicidal alcoholics. I'm not sure why. Even into adulthood, like it happens subconsciously. For a while, my Spotify algorithm kept sending me music by the poet David Berman, and I really loved and connected with his lyrics. I listened to 2 or 3 of his albums on repeat. And I looked him up, and it turns out David Berman was a lonely suicidal alcoholic who died young with no money or fame. And I didn't know that at the beginning. I just thought the songs were great. And it made me think about the connections between being a suicidal alcoholic and writing great music. Because if you compare the lyrics of a poet like David Berman to anyone on the Billboard Top 100, for example, I don't think there's much comparison. But those artists are arguably happier and healthier, and they make more money and they have better lives. So I think the argument remains of whether that kind of artistic quality is worth the effort. And I think maybe it is, because even though David Berman died young and alone with no money or acclaim, he still wrote my favorite lyric in any song ever. Here's a song where he sings, "I'm afraid that I have more in common with who I was than who I am becoming." And I always thought that if you can write a lyric that fucking good, it's worth giving up all the money in the world. But the debt collectors from Combank disagree. There is something about being an artist and being out there and being a bit strung out that leads to meaningful moments. And I met someone, Parker, at a house party, and she was smoking cigarettes and drinking red wine out of the bottle, and I thought, that's my kind of person. So we connected very quickly. And we talked, and Parker, she had sort of an artistic personality, and she had a dark sense of humor, and she was very sardonic, so we got along at many different levels. But there was an issue because she was kind of hung up with her ex. So we would go through times where Parker and I, we would hang out and we would get close and we would sort of bond. And then there'd be times where Parker would be distant and she would try to get back together with her ex. And this came to a head one night where we had a date in the city, and I rock up, I get to the train station, and I'm sort of standing there and I'm waiting, and obviously she doesn't turn up, and I get stood up. So I text my friend, I'm very upset, I'm kind of hurt and lonely, and we decide to just get drunk together in a bar that's nearby, one of our favorite bars, and I think, great, it's a good plan. So I go to the bar nearby, and I see that not only did Parker stand me up, but she's already there at this bar just with her ex, and they're sort of drinking and hanging out. And it's making me feel bad, I'm sort of lonely, I'm feeling rejected, and I think, I should probably get out of this situation. So about a month goes by, and now it's New Year's Eve. And my friend and I, we have a bunch of LSD, and we take it for the come up because we're going to this party on the hill at Sydney Park where all our friends are going to be there. And from the hill at midnight, you can kind of see the fireworks from the city. So while we're waiting for the come up, my friend, he turns to me and he says kind of sarcastically, who's going to be your midnight kiss? And I said, Parker. I don't know why, because we'd never kissed before and we hadn't even seen each other for about a month, but for whatever reason, it was in my mind. So the LSD comes up, we go to the park, we go up the hill, everyone's there, all our friends, it's a great party, but of course Parker's not there. But it's a good time anyway, we're drinking, we're coming up, and then it's New Year's Eve, so people start counting down. Someone on one end of the hill shouts 10, and then the person beside him shouts 9, and then everyone shouts 8, and then we're all shouting 7, and then I hear someone behind me shout my name, and I turn around and I see Parker, and she's walking up the hill, and she's smoking cigarettes and drinking from a bottle of red wine. And she gets up to the top of the hill, and everyone's like 5, 4, and I say, who was your midnight kiss? And Parker says, no one. So we kiss, and we're holding her, and everyone shouts 1, and the fireworks go up in the sky, and I'm peaking on LSD, and we're kissing, and we're holding each other. But deep down, I do have the feeling that this is not meaningful, like this is kind of a casual sort of superficial thing, but at the same time I had this incredible out-of-body experience where I experienced this exact feeling again and again and again and again until the moment where I do find someone to truly love, and that this person is herself navigating an almost endless array of timelines and decisions and mistakes and errors and failures and other loves on her way to meet me. And that this is always going to happen, and that this is inevitable, and this moment and this moment and this moment is inevitable too. All right, thanks, that's the show.